Welcome to the Pitchlight Chronicles. I am Tats. I'm here with Robin Donald, and we will be breaking down if indeed the pitching was to blame or are they blameless. Is it just solely Boone's fault, or was there a pitcher that just really crumbled under the pressure of the postseason? We'll be breaking that all down right here on Pitchlight Chronicles. All right, welcome to the Pitchlight Chronicles, brought to you by Northeast Streaming Sports, Sportswire Radio, and ourselves. And it was
ourselves, yeah,
and ourselves.
Right. Brought to you by ourselves.
Yep. But you hear a lot. We've heard a lot over the years that in the offseason, we need to shore up the pitching. But I think this is one of those postseasons. As short as it was, the pitching was not the problem. It might have been the execution of the pitching staff from our manager. He's a lot to blame for it. But I don't think that the pitching staff was the reason that we had the early exit. I think it is solely on the offense alone. Now, yesterday, a lot of the talk was the offense had it going in Game 4. The pitching just couldn't keep the Astros off the board. But you're only talking about a very small sample size. And you have a situation where if the bullpen was utilized properly and not overused, we might have a different story in Game 4. So do you blame the pitching for the exit?
I don't think you can. They didn't hit for pretty much the entire postseason. So, and also they were missing about a whole half of their bullpen in terms of injury. I don't like blaming injuries a lot, but King was already hurt. They lost Efros right before the playoffs. They had Marinaccio on the IL. We thought we'd get him back for the ALCS. It wouldn't have mattered, but you were down 3 of your best arms before you even threw a pitch in October. So it was, mix and match out of the bullpen. You really had only a few options. It was Holmes, Loaizaga, Trevino, and Wandy. That's really all you can use. And eventually you keep using the same guy, something bad's going to go wrong. So I can't really blame the pitching when your offense is struggling to put up 2 runs. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Yeah, Spencer in the comments because I don't blame the pitching. The lack of hitting put a lot of pressure on our pitching. The pitches that were available, several of them were marginal. Yeah, they really did put a lot of pressure on the offense, put unfortunate pressure on the pitching staff. And they, I think, rose to the occasion. They kept the games very close. So it's not like they were getting lit up where the offense or lack thereof, as we saw, were unable to keep up with the mishaps of the pitching staff. So it becomes where this is, like I said, this is one of those years that the pitching gets a free pass on the blame. Donald, your thought? Let's get to Michael's comment. The problem with the Yankees right now is they only know how to buy a team instead of knowing how to build a team. That's actually a very good point. Cashman is the problem, and until he's replaced, nothing will change.
Can I cut in for a second?
Yeah.
He's tried to build a team. This is his build a team right here. He's not buying too much because if that was the case, he would have bought Machado and Harper, Correa. The only guy he really bought necessarily was Cole and I guess Donaldson. But a lot of these guys were his puppies and the guys that he's not wanting to get off of, guys like Aaron Hicks. So this is his idea of building a team. He didn't buy this team necessarily. If he would have signed the top free agents, that's buying a team.
Donald?
Yeah, that's actually right. There's no blame to go to the pitching, other than the fact we don't have a closer. But the reality is Aaron Boone didn't know who to turn to. And it all goes down to management of the bullpen. what little bullpen arms available, Aaron Boone didn't know who to use when. He had specific lanes for certain pitchers, so he only saw Lou Trevino in a lane of the fifth or sixth inning. So when Garrett Cole got in trouble, Lou Trevino was the one that he called upon instead of getting the best arm to get you out of a situation like the bases loaded, nobody out. Well, that goes down to your management of the bullpen.
Yeah.
We really only had one reliable arm, and that was Wandy out of the pen. Holmes is our best arm, but of course, he didn't exactly earn a lot of trust in the second half of the year. He really struggled. He got hurt, and then he lost the location. But he certainly looked pretty darn good in the postseason. But the Yankees didn't use him at all in the ALCS for the first 3 games. Imagine having your best bullpen arm not used at all. So this is what it all comes down to. It's not the pitching. Severino pitched beautifully, right? He was taken out too early, in my opinion. Nestor Cortez pitched beautifully until he got injured. Now you could maybe argue that maybe Boone should have been smart enough to see that his velocity was down, and maybe he could have gotten him out of there prior to giving up the 3-run home run. But that doesn't happen with our manager. He doesn't know what he's doing. But apart from that, Nestor Cortez was our best pitcher in the entire season. So maybe you want to give him a break for that. Garrett Cole was our best pitcher in the postseason. He won us the DS, hands down. It was just him. So I don't know. And also, Tyon pitched beautifully in Game 1 of the CS. Yep. And that was in the Yankees tank game, where they were like, you know what, we're not interested in winning this game. And their moves basically engendered that by putting in all kinds of weird and wonderful calls, like putting in Montas and Clark Schmidt or whatever. That was their punt game in a CS, for crying out loud.
But that's what it was. It was, they threw in Tyon, and we sat here that morning and we're like, all right, this might not be the start of the CS that we would have hoped for. But we're going against Verlander. It's going to be a tough battle. Just keep us in the game, give the offense a chance to start clicking. And it's almost like they threw this plan together in Game 1 with that built-in excuse of, well, we were coming right off of the Cleveland series, but and having to travel, like all the excuses were already built in for Boone. So if something did go wrong, he could just blame somebody else rather than himself. So but Boone has nobody to blame but himself. He completely mismanaged it. Throwing away Game 1 with the way that he was using the pitching staff just set the tone for the whole series. The lack of hitting, there was no sense of urgency, and that was the other thing. And that's going to go into Eddie's comment here. What bothered me with the Yankees looked like they were never in the playoffs before. Didn't know who was the shortstop, bullpen, lineups. I think many moves, no trust. Exactly. And that summarizes everything, that we were screaming about. And get to Spencer here. I would not categorize the Yankees as buying a title. If that's an idea from 20 years ago, it's in the past.
Well, they haven't won a title since 2009, so they can't buy anything if you're not winning it. That because Michael said here, one of the highest payrolls in the league, and you're still concerned that you don't have the right player. That's general manager problem. None of us are pro Cashman. Let's just put that out there, Michael. I'm not arguing that Cashman needs to stay. I think he needs to get the hell out of here. But you're saying that he's only knows how to buy players. He didn't buy Stanton. He traded for Stanton, and he got him at basically nothing. That's a trade that any GM in baseball would make. You're giving up Starlin, Castro, and 2-0 prospects for the NL MVP. That's a trade that anybody should make. It was a steal. But other than Garrett Cole, he didn't really back up the Brinks truck for anybody in this window that we have. He hasn't done it. LeMahieu's contract wasn't really significant at all. When you look at the players he passed up to compare to the players that we do have, he may have backed up the Brinks truck for Aroldis Chapman for whatever reason, but he's not buying a team. The Dodgers buy a team, and that hasn't done anything for them, but nobody says it about the Dodgers because The Dodgers are winning more than we are, even though they only have one in 2020. But you get the point. Brian Cashman isn't buying anybody, and if he is, he's not doing it the right way. We have a high payroll. We have a ton of money going to these players. It's not allocated the right way. If he would have gotten Harper, Machado, or Correa, two of those three, and we won a championship, say we bought a championship, I don't care because we got the ring. I don't care how we get it. Just get it. I don't think any fan would care if we were hoisting a trophy and our payroll was $300 million, because the Mets wouldn't care, and they're getting to that number. The Dodgers wouldn't care. They're getting to that number. So I don't want to hear this buying championships crap, because if you have the money, spend it. Cashman doesn't spend it right.
Brian Cashman is the master of plug and pray players, like IKF. Plug and pray. That's basically what he did. He stuck IKF for shortstop and hoped that it worked. It didn't work, but he couldn't admit that he screwed up, so he just had to ride him out. What did he do with Gleyber Torres? Moved him from second base to shortstop. Plug and pray. He didn't really know he could play shortstop. He couldn't play shortstop, and waited until 2 weeks before the postseason last year, when the season was almost over, for him to realize, maybe I should move him off shortstop because it's not really working. My bad. And it's plug and pray. That's what Brian Cashman does. He doesn't want to buy because Hal Steinberg doesn't want him to, and so he just kind of finds creative ways to put together a team. The Josh Donaldson IKF trade is perfect plug and pray. He didn't really know it was going to work, and it didn't work, but they're never going to admit it. And so that's where we're at. And it's a terribly managed organization. The analytics is there in order to guide you, and the Yankees misuse it because they've got ego problems. Everyone in the Yankee front office has a huge ego problem. Fishman, Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, they all have a hubris about them. Like, they cannot be questioned. And they treat fans, they treat media, they treat people with complete and utter disrespect. And only they are right. And that's what's the problem. So if you're interpreting data, right, which all analytics is interpreting data. If they're interpreting data, but then also you've got a hubris and an overinflated view of yourself, and you add it to that, then all they're going to do is you're just going to be like taking parts of the data and going, well, I'm just going to ride with this because I'm right and everyone else is wrong. And even if it is wrong, I'm still going to say I'm right because then I can't admit wrong and admit that I screwed it up. And that's what they've done. That's why we're in this position. So it isn't analytics. It's the people in charge. Aaron Boone was so obnoxious when he was on the Michael Kay show, and Michael Kay quite rightfully asked, is Carpenter ready? He's not played in about 2 to 3 months. Are you sure that he is completely ready? Because he struck out every single at bat in the postseason debate. And then Aaron Boone's reply was, "You're unbelievable." What an arrogant. I can't even say the word because it's in the morning, but what an arrogant to reply like that. It just shows that the Yankees have no respect for anybody other than themselves. It's disgraceful, disgusting.
Yeah, let's get to Michael's question here. He goes, last year you didn't want Correa. They did, I did not. But Rob was very high on getting Correa.
I was screaming his name on this show for about
Correa
3 months.
The Yankees would still be playing right now. I actually think they would be. I think it would have just improved the lineup a little bit. It definitely would have increased the shortstop productivity, but
would have changed the direction of the season. Sorry, Tats. Yeah. It would have changed direction because how many games did IKF cost us with his defensive mishaps? Especially, he cost us 2 in the playoffs against Cleveland. So the series would have ended sooner, right? It would have changed the course of history had we had an actual shortstop out there. I'll let you finish. I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, I think what it was is because, without those errors from IKF throughout the year, we might have even had a chance to have the home field advantage. It might have put us in that chase in the last week. we could have been still playing for something rather than just walking with sleepwalking into the division. We could have been going into that last series going, all right, if we take 2 out of 3, we get home field. But we didn't have that option. Especially after the August that we had. That was a pipe dream to get home field at that point. But having a guy like a caliber player like Correa definitely changes the outlook of what could have been.
I wanted Correa. It made no sense not to acquire him. Well, how is Donaldson and IKF for the same money, basically combined, a better value for money than bringing in Correa, who could play either third or short, could even play him at second if required, at gold glove caliber play, plus he's going to give you offense, plus he's got that championship kind of mentality about him. I mean, there's a no-brainer. It didn't even require any brains, but the Yankees had to be the smartest people in the room.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested in this idea that, we couldn't have a cheater in there, because Marwin Gonzalez seemed somehow stayed on the roster despite being terrible all year long, but the Yankees made excuses to keep him on the roster. So, because again, they can't be wrong. They have to be right. They have to be wrong. We were the geniuses that found Marwin Gonzalez. So we're just going to ride it out, even though he added nothing to the postseason roster.
Like Spencer said, his issue with Cashman is he wish he was more transparent with the fans. We've got into that with the transparency, and you don't want to lay all your cards out on the table. You want to keep that ace up your sleeve, for because you want that leverage for negotiating. So you're not always going to disclose everything that within your plan, but where we always said we wanted to hear more from Cashman is not so much tell us what you're thinking, but don't talk to us like we're idiots. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, well, think about it. This goes all the way back to the offseason before the lockout. Shortstop is a priority. Center field is a priority. He didn't get either one of those positions. He did not get a shortstop. He got 2 third basemen. He did not get a center fielder. He was perfectly fine with going with Aaron Hicks out there until they had to use Aaron Judge because Aaron Hicks stunk and they didn't have an actual center fielder. So Brian Cashman lies to us. He thinks we're stupid. He aired out the contract that he offered Aaron Judge, which he never, ever does. And it only made things worse with your best player. That's going to trickle into these negotiations once the World Series ends. He does this constantly, trying to make himself look smarter than everybody else, when every single baseball fan out there that's been watching this game long enough knows everything he says, everything that comes out of his mouth is complete and utter horse shit. So he needs to stop trying to be smarter than you and just say, I made this trade. I was wrong. It didn't work out. And we're going to try to be better. You stop trying to tell us things that we're not going to be able to pick up on. Once you said your shortstop was a priority and then you get Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who's a third baseman, to be your shortstop, that's stupid because you already had one. We've said this already how many times on the show. You had a third baseman playing shortstop. You replaced him with another third baseman to play shortstop, and then you picked up $50 million of an aging veteran to play third base when you already have DJ LeMahieu, and you already had Gio Urshela. You didn't need to do that move at all. You could have gotten rid of Gio. You could have gotten rid of Sanchez, cleared the money, and signed Correa for 1 year, just 1 year, and it would have made this team a lot better. I'm so sick of Brian Cashman thinking that we're stupid. He needs to go. It's been too long. Everybody in this organization that's under Brian Cashman's been hired from 2007 or before. He's been here since the 80s. It's time for a change. Houston, everybody's been there since 2016 or later. They're a young organization. Their front office is built on youth, and the game is growing. All the Yankees know is that home runs win games, which is true, and they hit a lot of home runs, but they don't know what they need to do to win in October, which is you have to get guys on base and put guys on base. Guys have to have good at-bats in order to get the big home run. You're not going to win by getting solo home runs in the playoffs, and the Yankees can't seem to get out of their own way, and it starts with that dope that's at the top of the freaking list. So he's done some good things. He's made some good moves. He's made some steals. I'll give him that. But we haven't won since 2009. His only championship that he built himself was by buying the top free agents. The other dynasty, he didn't build that team. He added to it, sure. The Brocious move, which was criticized, ended up being huge. He needs to go. Nothing will change. Like Michael said, nothing will change until he's out of here.
Korea was a complicated situation. Which one, North or South?
Korea.
Because Korea was a complicated situation because he had a contract consideration with his old agent. That's why the Twins got him. No, the reason why the Twins got him is because Brian Cashman willingly took on Josh Donaldson's contract. The Twins would never have been able to get Carlos Correa unless they got a dope to take on Josh Donaldson's $50 million. That's what it is.
Well, that's what,
Blame the agents all you want. If the Yankees wanted Carlos Correa, I can guarantee you he would be a New York Yankee. I can guarantee you that. They didn't want Carlos Correa. The only reason why his name was even mentioned among the Yankees is because of leverage. The agent probably used the Yankees' name as leverage. The Yankees were all in on IKF the whole way through. They were not interested in going after the free agents. That we know. So it wasn't that complicated a situation. Brian Cashman was the dope that allowed himself to get bought by the Minnesota Twins GM, and he willingly took on $50 million, and it wasn't at gunpoint, and it wasn't at knife point, and he actually willingly took on a contract of this albatross. So I am not going to accept that it was an agent that made things difficult. It was Brian Cashman, for crying out loud.
No, and you can't keep preaching that we have to hold the players accountable. How about we start really holding really pushing to have the management held accountable? The Hal Steinbrenner right now has the perfect window to hit the reset button. Cashman's been out of contract. You could just get rid of Boone, no problem, and just start rebuilding right now. Just bring in new leadership. Then see what that new leadership can do with the players that you have on your roster under contract. Maybe they just need new faces and voices in that organization that might wake up everybody else to say, okay, because I'm tired of this team being a laughingstock. I really am.
We know that's what they have to do, but George Steinbrenner's son does not have the stomach to do it. He is the quintessential absentee owner. He just wants the baseball guys to get on with it, right? He doesn't want to get involved. As long as they come to him and he either gives the go-ahead or doesn't with expanding payroll, that's the only job he wants. He doesn't want to completely clear out this front office. He does not want to do it because he doesn't have the interest. He doesn't have the ability, and he cares a little bit only because his dad does. So he'll give you the lip service. Oh, we care about the job. You really don't.
No.
You really don't. It's about the bottom line with George Steinbrenner's son. I'm not even going to call him by his name. He doesn't deserve to have a name right now because he's nameless and he's faceless. Until he faces up to what role he's played and allowing these idiots in the charge of the Yankees to completely embarrass themselves, until he faces up to the fact that these names need to be cleared out, then none of this is going to change.
Yep. And Michael comments, so if the Yankees do bring out the Brinks truck for Judge, will it make them better or worse, since they probably won't have enough money to bring other players in around them?
You're better with Aaron Judge. Yeah. You need him. You're literally not a playoff team without him. He's an 11 WAR player, or 10, depending on what website you look at. You take those 10 wins off. Let's just put the number at 10. They win 87 games. Where does that put them? There you go. That's their answer. Nobody can say anything because that's how bad the team is without Aaron Judge. It's a decent team. It's a winning team. It's a team that's going to finish over 500, but it needs Aaron Judge. And this team has the pieces in its farm system already to make them even better. Volpe's coming. He'll be here next year. Dominguez will be very soon after that. I think as soon as, not next year, but the year after, he'll be up. You're going to have some of these prospects come up. And those are guys that are going to help you win because Volpe's a put the ball in play kind of guy. So is Dominguez. Dominguez is growing before our eyes. We have the prospects. We have the guys in the major league roster right now. They need to clear some dead weight. Donaldson, Hicks, they need to go. Torres, I would move, see what you can get for him because Volpe should probably be at second base. Peraza's already there. Cabrera's already there. Bader's a good enough hitter. Aaron Judge is your best hitter. Giancarlo Stanton's going to hit you 30 by accident. And Rizzo's probably going to come back if Judge is back. So the team is in place. The pitching is solid. You can add to it, sure, and hope that your bullpen is healthy next year. And you've got a really good team. They need to be smarter with the coaching. Stop with this. You're going to tell us the hitting coach is saying hit strikes hard. Yet what did they do in the playoffs? Strike out 40-plus times, 50-plus times in a 4-game series. So you can't have that. You need to change the approach and stop saying that home runs are everything. Home runs will win you games, but I just said it. You need to have a very look what the Houston Astros did. They beat us with home runs, but they were putting grinding at bat after at bat and the double after double, and that led to the big hit. That led to the big home run. Bregman hit a 3-run home run to seal the deal in what was a game 2.
Yep.
They need to get guys on base for that to happen. You're not winning with solo home runs. You need to get guys on base, and then your power bats can hit the home run. You have that in Judge, Rizzo, Stanton. Those are your power guys. You don't need to have 7 power guys in a 9-man lineup. You can have 3 or 4 that are designated as the power bats, but Aaron Judge is a 300 hitting power bat that hits you 60 home runs. Stanton can, on a good year, will hit 250 with 35 to 40. Even if Rizzo's a low average, he's going to get you 30 like he showed last year. That's plenty because in Yankee Stadium, you're going to have Peraza with a good amount. Volpe's going to kill a ton. Dominguez will get some when he's here. You have power, and you have the guys that can give you the contact. Just stop trying to be better than everybody when it comes to the home run ball because it's not working. It's been this way since 2010, and they haven't won. So use your kids, and you can build this team into a winner. But they need to have the right front office in mind to do that because Brian Cashman wants to keep these guys, but not necessarily use them.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. Yeah, Volpe's ready. Hey, dude, Peraza's already ready, but the Yankees found excuses not to play him, and that's what's terrifying me. So we actually already have prospects that are ready, but the Yankees don't know what to do with them. And that's what I'm really worried about. I mean, Peraza is our second best prospect in the system apart from Volpe, and the Yankees made excuses to ignore him. They called him our second pinch runner. And he's not, it's unbelievable. He's an above average shortstop at Major League Baseball ready right now. Like, what is wrong with them? So I don't actually have faith in them that when Volpe and Dominguez are ready, that the Yankees are going to use them right because they find excuses to screw all our prospects up. The last one that they've actually developed correctly was Aaron Judge. That is terrifying. He's almost 30 now.
You know, unfortunately, we would have had Severino in that conversation if it hadn't been for the injuries. You know, so it hasn't been enough with the development. And that might be the other thing that they need to address in the offseason is this freaking development situation. Because you keep developing all these guys, giving them the highest praises possible. He's coming up. And then he sits on the bench for 2 weeks. And you send them back down because you have a contract player coming back off the IL.
Yep.
You know, so you're constantly shuffling these guys around. Of course, they're not going to be clicking right away. Of course, they're going to have a slump when they get going. It's just you're setting them up for that. You're setting these kids up for failure. The biggest highlight that you can put on it is Peraza in this postseason. You bring them up on the LCS roster, and you don't even freaking use them.
Use them for one game. I mean, he only played 18 games this year. He was a 300 hitter, 306, a 404 on base, and he slugged 429. He only had 1 home run. But he had 15 hits and 49 at-bats. He scored 8 runs, had 2 RBIs, a home run, drew 6 walks, only struck out 9 times, stole 2 bases. That's an 18-game sample size.
Yeah.
And this is what you had, your number 2 prospect or number 3, again, depending on what website you look at, and they didn't use him. Because they had Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who I like, but not as an everyday shortstop. I mean, it's just, how do you make this move? How do you say we're going to call him up in September and not play him every single day? He should have been playing the second the deadline ended. We're not trading him. He's the shortstop moving forward. And I guarantee we would have won 100 games and maybe gotten that much closer to the number 1 seed, but they didn't want to shy away from their move, and it's once again the ego of dope Brian Cashman.
Yeah, and that's gonna sign off on Roku. Talk to you tomorrow on that channel. But to continue the discussion, it's the complete lack of accountability, and that's really all it circles back to. So it's we have here from Eddie. Bottom line, it's all about arrogance in the Yankees front office, and Cashman's born the president. No, we could talk in circles and just keep going around, round and round on it. But it does bear repeating. It's the accountability. We talked. Donald used the perfect word when it came to the young guys over the season. Is the meritocracy of it. There's no reward for your hard work in this organization. That's the other, and that's another thing. If you want to, dive back into that.
Well, exactly. I mean, listen, they're tied to the contracts that they give out, and their ego attached to any move that they feel that they need to justify to the fan base or the media in order to carry it out, which was IKF, and they'll make excuses for him. Aaron Hicks, they'll make excuses for him. They made excuses for Aroldis Chapman. They've made excuses for people who don't do their jobs, and the reason is because they've got their reputation staked on these people. Gary Sanchez was another one. Also, you can't do two things at once, and that's what the Yankees have tried to do. They've tried to give us lip service that they're all in on a championship, but they don't make the moves that necessitate being all in on a championship, because then they chicken out, and then they try and bring up their kids, but they don't use their kids and things like that. And it's all kind of mixed. And when you do two things at once, you never get anything accomplished. You never get one thing accomplished. And that's what the Yankees have done to this point. The best example is they could have traded for Garrett Cole and to not allow him to go to Houston. And what held them back was Andujar and Clint Frazier. Clint Frazier has a different name now, and he's been dropped out of the organization, and he was cut out of the Cubs. And Duhar, the Yankees never had an idea what to do with him, and he just got cut. So that's what I'm saying. If you just don't make the moves that necessitate winning a championship in order to develop your young guys, but then don't use your young guys, that's what happened. And Clint Frazier, they didn't know what to do with him. So just saying up and down, and Duhar didn't know what to do with him. Had him play every position known under the sun, up and down, up and down, up and down. And then they ended up just being DFA'd. And so that's where it all comes down to Brian Cashman. If you do two things at once, you never get one thing accomplished. That's something that I want our viewers to take away with themselves, because that is the truth. That's what the Yankees have been trying to do. If the Yankees were really all in on a championship, you wouldn't right, we can get Garrett Cole right now. He is our white horse. We don't need to spend $300 million in free agency in a couple of years' time. We can get him right now, and he might be the difference to win us a championship. Okay, it's going to cost us Frazier and Andujar. Well, they're not really part of our plans moving forward anyway. And that is how you win championships. But Brian Cashman isn't interested in that. It's his ego.
No, you go back to 2018, right? They got Stanton for nothing. They could have gotten Garrett Cole. They could have just rolled into 2018 with Neil Walker at third, for all I care, because that's who they played before Andujar got called up anyway. And also Chance Adams was another guy that held up that trade. Yeah. So think about that. That's another player. Another prospect that didn't work out that held up getting Garrett Cole, and he went to Houston. But Torres came up later that year anyway, so second base was filled. Your outfield was already going to be Stanton, Gardner, Judge, or Hicks. Hicks had his best year in 2018. They had every reason to go get Garrett Cole. And then guess what? You don't have to pay Garrett Cole in 2 years, like you just said. And the next offseason, now you have a hole at third base. Who's a free agent? Manny Machado. Guess how much better that team looks? Just one trade that goes forward with Garrett Cole. And you could have turned Andrew Miller, because guess what? And that next year, you could have still made the trade for James Paxton, who was really good for us for 2 years. Andrew Miller would have turned into Garrett Cole and James Paxton.
Yeah. It really that one non-trade, just the trickle effect that you just broke down is astonishing. It really
It
is
is.
on how how they don't see it. How they made such the other who was it? There was another player that they kept calling for that was available, but they wanted David Garcia. I mean, oh no, we can't get rid of Dave. He's going to be, he's too high a prospect. We can't trade him for another player. Where's he now? Also, he's another one. They keep it's the same rinse and repeat with these prospects. So it adds so much pressure to Cabrera, Peraza, Volpe, and Dominguez. The pressure that those four guys are going to be under next season is insane. Because we're going to have some of them are going to be up here on the Major League roster. Dominguez will probably be in AAA to start next year. So I hope they're ready because it's going to be there's going to be a lot of stress involved.
I think Volpe's ready. Peraza's been ready. Cabrera's shown that he's ready. Well, I think Dominguez will be in AA to start the year, but he'll be in AAA soon enough. We saw how fast Volpe moved up the system. Dominguez is on that track. He's playing pretty well right now in the forgot what the league is called, the Winter League or something. But usually when you send a player there, you're telling them that they're ready. Because Sanchez played there, and then he came up like the next year. They had some other guys there as well, but when you have a prospect there, you're telling them that you want to get as many at-bats for this kid as possible. Dominguez will be here very, very soon, but I don't trust this front office with these prospects because they don't know what to do with them. Florial was once our top prospect, and they sent him up and down, despite he was successful when they first called him up. They played him for one game in 2020 and sent him down. Then in 2021, he was playing pretty well, sent him down. So they don't know what they're doing with prospects. They either hold on to them and not use them, or they don't trade them when they can. You had opportunities, and you still would have had a good farm system because guess what? The Yankees don't draft very well. They're very good in the international market, though, because players want to become Yankees. And everything, the writing is on the wall. You want a player, you have the prospects. It's not even going to talk about Castillo. You could have had Juan Soto this trade deadline. You could have, and they didn't want to do it.
No, because if they would have made any of those moves at the trade deadline that they did not make, it would have been them saying that they made a mistake, and they're not going to do that. They're going to keep their boots, in the sand and say, you know what, I'm never wrong. I'm Brian Cashman. I'm the GM of the Yankees, and I know better than everybody. He knows nothing. He knows absolutely nothing. He has completely dismantled the prestige of this organization.
Michael Kay is shredding him right now.
Good, he should.
And Aaron Boone. Good. Someone has to, because no one else has. No one in the beat media has done anything to hold the Yankees' feet to the fire. We really missed the days in the 90s where there were beat writers who asked the serious questions, but they don't do it anymore. And the Yankees have gone away scot-free.
No, because they don't want to be black. They don't want to be, on the blacklist for the locker room. They want to be able to keep their access.
That's right.
They don't want to. They don't want to piss off the papers, that they're writing for. No, we need you to play nice because we want to make sure that we get invited back for the next game. No, screw that. What about the integrity of journalism? Does that exist anymore?
Yeah.
Call it like it is. Don't try to pussyfoot around everything because you're not fooling anybody.
At least Joel Sherman did actually have an article the other day saying that pretty much that Aaron Boone needs to go. He's a decent manager. You just called him decent, but you can never imagine him holding a World Series trophy aloft. He doesn't envisage it. And so what's the point? What's the point? And also there's an article out now that to be honest, Hal Steinbrenner should be fired because he's let down his father. If there was any way that he could fire himself, he should have fired himself because he's let down his father too. And
what's funny is because I said yesterday, I'm like, I hope Jennifer steps in and tells her brother to get the hell out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking over.
That ain't gonna happen.
No, but it's funny that I brought that up yesterday and then with the article. But So, Michael, hindsight is 2020. So the Yankees signed back Judge, let go of Donaldson, IKF, Carpenter. Who else should they get for next season, trade or free agent? We're gonna be, we're gonna. I wanted to try to save that for another show, but we'll get into that a little bit right now. It's going to be interesting to see which agents, which free agents and trades really fit, and what the Yankees are willing to move on. So the one guy I really think that they're going to bring back is Carpenter. I think they'll give him something, maybe a 1-year deal. But I don't Donaldson IKF. I think that they'll be thinking of the past. I think they're going to try to move Donaldson. What do you guys think?
No one's taking Donaldson. They're just going to have to cut him. And IKF, you can probably move for a prospect or something like that. Carpenter should not be back, if we're being honest. I don't know. He's going to be older. Maybe what happened this year was sort of a mirage. I don't know. But you're dealing with that foot, and I don't know, the way they used him in the playoffs, I don't know if he really becomes an impact bat next year the way he was this year. You can find another lefty bat for cheap to fill that void. Plus, you're probably DHing Stanton more so than anything going into next year. So there's no need to have Carpenter sitting on the bench. I would rather them just let Volpe come up. If he has a good spring, just bring him up with the team. You can clear up some infield spots by getting rid of those two duds, and then maybe bring back Benintendi. I would like him back if they actually have a group of people that know what they're doing with the leadoff hitter or a number 2 hitter and put him in where he needs to play. So he can bring a lot of contact to this team as well. So they're not going to do too much, though. I can tell you that right now. They're not going to go crazy. People are starting to think they're going to sign Judge and they're going to sign DeGrom and they're going to get No, they're going to get Judge back, and they're probably going to just make a couple of small moves, and they're going to bring up these kids, which I'm fine with because I want to see Volpe and I want to see if Luis Heel gets healthy later on in the year because he's coming back from Tommy John. There are a lot of guys in the farm system that I like to see up here next year. I know they're not going to spend the money. If the same front office is in place, which it will be, Judge is going to be the guy they bring back, and they're going to say we're tapped.
Yeah, that's the reality. But I would certainly look to bring in a closer. So I would use the money that the Chapman and Britton off the books to go and get Edwin Diaz. I think I would certainly be willing to overpay for Edwin Diaz. I think that he would be really good. We need a closer, we need a proper closer that would certainly fix Aaron Boone, because Aaron Boone can't manage a bullpen. So if he has to put somebody in the 9th inning, then he would certainly look like a better manager. So I would certainly pay the money for that. I think Benintendi probably comes back, although Aaron Boone didn't know what to do with him when he did have him. But I certainly would bring in Benintendi back, I think, because we need a left fielder. Infield, at the moment, I would seriously consider I think the Yankees are going to use the narrative that Josh Donaldson played Gold Glove third baseman and he shouldn't leave, right? That's what
sugar.
That's what I think. I would move on from Josh Donaldson. I would then move on from IKF, and I would look to trade Gleyber Torres. And then I would use Volpe, Peraza, and then I'd go and sign Carlos Correa. And just figure out the positions from there. Probably Correa probably plays third. Volpe probably plays second. Peraza probably plays short or something of that ilk. And I think you've got a monster infield right there. But the Yankees will not spend much money after Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge is going to cost them like $40 million per just to get him. And then the Yankees will be tapped out. So I really don't know. Amish, I don't know what you're talking about. We keeping sugar. What are you talking about?
So, I mean, Eddie agrees with you too, and he brought up the fact with the no shift. So that's also going to come into play on what type of free agents, because now that it gives you a chance to, you don't need that. You're going to have more holes in the infield to get those, a fast, ground ball that. Oh, okay.
I got you.
So with the shift, you're going to see, they're aiming to improve the offense. So that's going to benefit Rizzo a lot. It's going to benefit a lot of the guys. And yeah, think about that athletic, the athleticism in the outfield with Benintendi, Bader, and Judge. I mean, you're pretty much, you're just asking, you're begging, it's a recipe for success.
It's your best outfield you can possibly put together, unless you just put Cabrera out there. But I don't want to lock Cabrera to one position because he can play literally everywhere. And he's the perfect guy for the Yankees, the way they do things, because they like to give guys days off all the time. So you can put him pretty much maybe like 4 times, 5 times a week at a different position. I know he's going to play it pretty well. I can't see them doing too. I don't see them getting Diaz because if Judge comes back, Rizzo's coming back, and that's going to tie you in for like 50-something-odd million for those 2 players alone, and the Yankees are going to penny pinch. So it's going to be a lot of the same. I do think Benintendi will be back, and they're probably going to sign a relief arm, and maybe they go back to that Pablo Lopez trade that fell through, and maybe they give up a little bit more.
I might be revisiting that. So what's going on, Jason? If you don't know Jason from 161 River Ave, check out his channel. But I don't see them going after Diaz, although there's a lot of money in the bullpen coming off the books with Chapman, Britton. So you're gonna have the money there to do it. So why not? We're not gonna go and steal DeGrom from the Mets. Let's not get too naive. So
Wish we could.
Yeah, I know, but I believe me, I wish we could too. But that's that'd be like if the Mets go after Judge. It's like just we won't go after your guy. You don't go after ours. I think that's going to be like that wash, that mutual, that agreement. Stay off my turf.
Oh, Steve Cohen
Diaz
there.
But with Diaz, you can go after. You can afford him.
They can afford anybody.
Yes, that's the thing. We can afford anybody.
Well, yeah. Well, let's. There's no. What is it? 112.9 million coming off the books after 20. That's a lot of freaking money. They could do so much with this team with that. They really can. But no, there's no reason why it is only money. We've been saying, we say that all the time. It's just freaking money. But they're not going to spend the money. That's the problem. They're too freaking cheap. They're too invested. They're more invested in their shareholders than their fan base. That's the Yankees. That's another Yankee problem. You can just keep going on and on about all these Yankee problems, but nothing's going to change because all the money is staying in their pocket.
Yep. And he also says here,
Cool, that's a good shout.
Keep an eye on Rafael Montero, power setup man for Houston. He's a free agent. Will cost half the price. That's what I think they're going to end up doing if they bring in a bullpen arm, because Efros is going to be out to start the season. Chad Green's a free agent. They're not going to bring him back, obviously, because he's hurt. King should be there to start the season, but your bullpen is still pretty good at the back end. You just don't have that sure thing in the ninth. Montero would be perfect.
Montero would make it. Shout. But we're gonna wrap things up for us on Pitch Track Chronicles here. We do thank everybody in the comments, Jason, Elliot, Michael, Eddie. We appreciate you all. We will be back tomorrow at 9:30 to 10 o'clock. Then on. So just remember, wear your pinstripes, your pride, and play hard.